You were just another normal high school student in Korea. You had just sat down for your final exam, exhausted from an all-night cramming session. The result of all your preparation and those grueling hours spent studying was dozing off in the middle of the test. You awake to find yourself alone. No one had bothered to wake you when the class was over. Night has begun, and you decide to head home. If you can. So describes the Coma, Recut's official page, a South Korean indie game that came out in 2017, itself being a remaster of the original game, the Coma, Cutting Class, that came out 2 years before that. To sum it up in the quickest way possible, it's a side-scrolling horror game in which you must escape from your nightmarish school whilst dodging monsters and avoiding being killed by 2 killers stalking the place. But that doesn't really do the best job of describing the game, so let's take a closer look at the Coma, aka, how do I get these fine ladies to kindly step on me? The Coma was apparently partially inspired by some of the key artists' real-life experiences. South Korean high schools are notoriously tough places to be, with incredible pressure to do well on tests and long nights spent studying in order to get into a suitable university that will then set you up for life. It's these pressures that set up the game and inform the Coma, the name of the nightmarish world that the main character wakes up in. You play as Yongo, a 17-year-old self-described nerd who rocks up to school after unsuccessfully hitting on a girl outside the gates to find that a classmate has tried to kill himself. Yongho's buddy Seho tells him that the class bully Myung-gil must have pushed him to do it, and after the ambulance drives away, he finds a pendant on the ground that belongs to their teacher, the beautiful and, impressive Ms. Song. Miss Song tells Yongo that she actually needs to talk to him after class, and he decides to give it to her then. Despite a classmate having just tried to kill himself, tests must go on, and an exhausted Yongho falls asleep during them. He wakes up to find he's the only person in class and everything is dark and a little weird. Especially Ms. Song, who now looks just a little demented and wants to shank him to death. These things happen. After running around the nightmarish school trying to avoid a pointy death, Yongho once again runs into Yesol, the girl he tried to hit on at the front gates, and she informs him that everything around him is very real. He's not dreaming. And thus begins Yongho's quest to escape the Coma, the nightmarish world in which he's found himself suddenly dragged into. It, and the people in it, resemble those in the real world, but now they're warped, horrifying shades, creatures out to kill him or, at the very least, hinder his progress. I won't get too deep into the plot here. You really should play it yourself to fully explore that. I'll likely do some lore videos later on as well because I really love the world that the Coma and its sequel have created, but for now, let's just look at the game itself. The game is rather Clock Tower-esque in that you have no way to fight the monsters trying to kill you. You have to run and hide when you're spotted, and trust me, you will be spotted a lot. This game is nearly 4 years old now, based on a game that came out 2 years before that, and well, let's just say the mechanics are a little dated already. Most of the problems this game has were thankfully solved in the sequel, but in terms of this game, you'll be dealing with a lot of crap you can't avoid, like the delightful dark song suddenly spawning on the very same spot you're standing on and killing you. A lot. The second game also introduced the sound of the Vicious Sisters' high heels, which lets you know when one of the monsters is lurking nearby, but that's not the case here. One of the lovely stabby ladies, either Slasher Song or Dark Song, will just randomly spawn and, if you're unlucky, it'll be right on you. They will screech when they see you, alerting you to the fact that you've been spotted, but that doesn't mean a whole lot when they're literally already on you. If you're fast, you can dodge and start running, but chances are good that they'll still kill you quite a bit first. Because you can't attack, you have to hide. This is generally done in toilets and lockers, but you must do so out of the monster's sight or she'll spot you and attack anyway. You also have a stamina gauge, which means that if you get tired, you'll slow to a crawl and she'll catch you. This can be remedied with various items you find around the place, such as water and coffee, and you can also find coins to buy items to heal yourself from vending machines as well. Various monster attacks will alternatively make you bleed or poison you, and you'll need these various items to heal yourself. In general, items are decently plentiful, but there are periods where you might find yourself out of cash and struggling to find what you need, so discretion is advised. Being a side-scrolling game where you can't attack, the objective is to hunt down items you need to allow you access to the next part of the game. The entire game takes place in Sewa High School, but there are various buildings and each building has numerous floors. Several things will impede your progress, such as locked rooms that need keycards to open, or passwords for computers hidden in other locations. All the while you'll be hunted down by one of the song monsters, murderous ladies that look like corruptions of your lovely teacher who wants your head on a pike. And why is our teacher trying to kill us anyway? Well, you'll need to make sure you pick up all the random notes and lore tidbits lying around the place to find out. The game rewards exploration with these tidbits lying around seemingly everywhere, so take your time and check each and every room to be rewarded with, honestly, some fascinating world building. You can save at designated blackboards around the place, and considering how much you'll die and the amount of progress you will lose, I highly recommend making copious use of them. The game can be rather brutal at points with killing you over and over. And if you're low on health, bleeding or poisoned, and the thing you're looking for is all the way on the other side of the map, you're not going to be in for a fun time. You can pretty much guarantee Ms. Song will spawn to wreck your day repeatedly. The game comes with several different endings, adding a bit of replayability. The endings change depending on what you did or didn't do, but sadly, unlike the second game, there are no costumes here, so you'll have to play through each time with the default Sewa uniform. The game isn't massively long though, and a first playthrough will take you maybe 4 hours at best if you really look around. Once you know what you're doing, that can be massively shortened as you seek the other endings. The true ending also sets up the sequel, which, in my opinion, is a far superior game, but I'll get into that in another video. You can also unlock some interesting extras to check out once you've beaten the game at least once, and these feature concept art and... Hey, wait a minute. All in all, I think this game is decent, but a little aged now. If you only had time for one, I would definitely recommend the sequel over this one, as it does everything much better, and on top of that, everything you need to know from this game is explained there as well. We actually played through the sequel first and then went back to this game because we wanted to know more about the world, and yeah, it was a massive downgrade in terms of game mechanics and much harder to get through as well. Of course, if you start with this game first, as was intended, then you're unlikely to know how much better it can be, so maybe it might be better that way. However, despite being a little clunky to play these days, I think this game excels in atmosphere and world building. Again, both of these are ramped up in the sequel, but it all began here. The world of the Coma, the twisted version of Sewa High School that you're forced to explore, is genuinely creepy and might get an audible scream or two at certain points. The more notes you get, and the more you dig into the history of the school, and of course, the history of the Coma and all those involved in it, the more it draws you in, and the more you want to know. The world building is superb, and it's such a fascinating idea. You could badly sum it up as Silent Hill, but in South Korea. But that really doesn't do it justice, nor even begin to cover the depth of lore they've included. The Coma is a fascinating idea born out of unique South Korean experiences, both historical and modern, blended into a fascinating game that handles a little weird, but has a ton of heart. The script is incredibly witty, and by the looks of it, The localization was handled by the English-speaking co-writer, so it's less of a localization and more of, this is the same story by the same writer, but in English this time. There are a lot of sayings and Western pop culture references that seem incredibly out of place for a South Korean student to be saying, but knowing that it's been done deliberately by the English-speaking writer makes a little more sense. It's not translated oddly, that's just the actual intention the writer wants to get across in a way that makes the most sense to native English speakers. The characters are also fantastic. Each is unique and fully fleshed out, although they clearly inhabit fairly standard tropes. Youngho is your typical plain butter protagonist. Myung-gil is a stock standard bully. Miss Song is, Miss Song. If you're into monster ladies, look no further. Seho is the chubby, nerdy friend with a hidden agenda, and Yasol is, well, if you know how I can get her to step on me, please let me know. There are also brief mentions of Mina, Youngho's best friend who will become the protagonist of the sequel, but she's mostly invisible for this game and, other than her brief appearance in the true ending, is only mentioned a few times. But it's clear that the second game was planned before this one was even finished, and that makes it all the better for me. They tie together brilliantly, almost like this game was nothing more than a prequel, set up for the real story that we get in the follow-up, Vicious Sisters. Anyway, if you want to pick this game up now, it's available pretty much everywhere but PlayStation, where for some reason it has been delisted. It's available on Steam, Switch and Xbox though, and you can get the original, cut in class, on mobile as well if that's your thing. Plenty of options out there. I will also be looking at the sequel very soon, a game I enjoyed a lot more, so stay tuned for that. But how about you guys? Have you played the Coma? Let me know your thoughts on the game below, and I'll see you again next time.